I'm not gonna write a long intro for this. You saw the title and you clicked on the video. Nintendo just announced the Switch 2 edition of Forgotten Land with brand new story content thanks to the Star-Crossed World expansion, along with a sequel to Kirby Air Ride, a fan favorite over 2 decades old. Star-Crossed World already has a release date on August 28th, 2025, so while the countdown begins, why not try to guess everything that happens in the DLC from the 2 minutes and 17 seconds we got to look at it?
You heard that right. Using only this trailer, I'm going to attempt to predict the entire plot of this game on the day of reveal. I know this is probably going to be posted a day or two after reveal, but I needed time to edit, so I promise everything I say today I did script the day the trailer was shown. So stay tuned to the end to get my full thoughts. Without further ado, let's begin.
Now, the beginning of the trailer shows Kirby and Elfilin flying in the skies of the Forgotten Land on a warp star, when suddenly they see a mysterious meteor hurtling towards the ground. We are 10 seconds in, and there is already a ton to talk about. Kirby fans may notice that this meteor looks exactly like a Jamba heart with a bunch of crystals sticking out of it. Now, in case you don't remember or you haven't played the game, quick crash course in Kirby Star Allies.
Story spoilers for Kirby Star Allies. Click off now if you haven't played the game, or don't if you don't care.
In Kirby Star Allies, the Jamba heart is this giant crystal heart, which Void Termina, a super powerful cosmic being and final boss of the game, was sealed inside a long time ago in the ancient past by 4 heroes of yore, using 4 spears of the heart. Highness, the leader of a cult which worships Void Termina as a dark god, attempts to break the seal, but messes up, causing the Jamba heart to shatter into a bunch of dark hearts, which go flying across the galaxy. Some of these land on planet Popstar, corrupting DDD and Meta Knight, kicking off the events of Star Allies. Throughout the game, we learn that the cult is trying to collect all of the Dark Hearts to fix the Jamba Heart, and eventually Kirby faces off against Highness at the Divine Terminus' altar, where Highness is trying to repair it. Of course, Kirby beats him, so in an act of desperation, Highness sacrifices himself and the Mage Sisters, the 3 generals of the cult, to fully repair the Jamba Heart and revive Void Termina. Not to worry, this doesn't affect the age rating, since it turns out Highness and the Mage Sisters just end up inside of Void Termina's body once he revives. They don't actually die. Anyway, the heart transforms into this dark cloud, which flies off and turns into Void Termina, commencing the final boss fight, and we don't see the heart again. But we're not quite done yet, because we do see another Jamba heart later in the epilogue, Heroes in Another Dimension. During the fierce battle with Void Termina, Kirby manages to free Highness and the Mage Sisters from Void's inside organ thing, whatever this is. And we find out later Highness falls into a hole leading to another dimension. A brief clarification, another dimension, A, D, is the name of an alternate dimension in the Kirby series. It's this sort of in-between space that you can use to portal between 2 faraway places. Here's a diagram from a GDC talk that Kumazaki used to explain it in 2023. Of course, it's sort of a confusing name because it's literally named after what it is, but just go with it for now. In any case, the next time we see Highness is at the end of Heroes in Another Dimension, where a new Jamba heart rises from the ground before the 4 heart spears which Kirby had been collecting throughout the campaign strike and shatter it, releasing a Highness now corrupted by darkness. Now, why did this happen? Well, in some pause screen text, we're given the statement that the darkness left its master, transforming into a giant Jamba heart and swallowing him whole. Presumably this means something like dark magic left Highness and sealed him in a Jamba heart of his own after the events of the main story, but it's a little unclear. Of course, this doesn't matter too much to Kirby, who's happy to fight him and wins again, fights the Mage Sisters and then also wins again, and then throws a giant friend heart at all 4 of them, making them all friends, and that's the end of the game. Crash Course in Star Alley is over. What does this mean for Forgotten Land? Well, let's keep in mind the fact that Jamba hearts are crystals made of darkness that tend to seal dark entities inside of them while we watch the trailer. Could be a useful detail to remember later. Anyway, as it falls, the meteor begins to break apart, releasing these spiky blue crystals, which rain all over Forgotten Land. Again, this is very similar to Star Allies. However, once it completely breaks apart, we can see the meteor isn't completely destroyed, but instead has this sort of twisted, decayed remains at the center of it, still shaped roughly like a heart. The remains of the meteor hit the ocean, creating a giant wave which Kirby and Elfilin watch as a giant island emerges where the meteor struck. It looks like the remains of the heart meteor is still on this island as a giant landmark, too, along with what appears to be a volcano. Keep this island in mind because we'll see it again later in the trailer.
After getting the game logo, we see the effects of the blue crystals actually hitting the Forgotten Land, causing some of the surrounding area to become covered in this sort of shiny blue sheen, as well as forming new crystals. This doesn't only change the visuals of the stage, but also creates new platforms, transforms enemies into crystal forms, and transforms normal coins into these sort of diamond star coins. Now at this point we can see that Star-Crossed Worlds is probably going to work similarly to some of the extra modes of previous Kirby games, where we play through harder or remixed versions of the stages in the main game. It's probably the case that the crystallized enemy forms will be more difficult versions of standard enemies. I imagine Kirby getting headbutted by an Awufi with spikes on its head probably hurts more than one without. The coins, on the other hand, are a bit more interesting. At first I thought the new coin designs were probably purely visual, given that in all of Kirby's modern extra modes, the extra mode of Return to Dreamland, DDD Tour, Meta Nightmare Returns, and Guest Star Allies Go, for example, also changed the design of the coins like this, but kept their mechanics exactly the same. However, there is a decent chance this is a brand new currency, considering that the coins in Forgotten Land could actually be used as coins to buy various things, rather than just being used for one-ups like in previous games. We'll also see in later shots that the normal star coins still exist in crystallized levels, so I'm leaning towards this being the case now. So far we haven't seen a new shop to spend them on, but it's something to keep in mind. We then see a shot in Everbay Coast, which has also been crystallized, as well as one from the original Wasteland and Winter Horns. Look, there's the normal star coins I was talking about, and here the diamond coins rain down on the level like falling stars. A nice touch. Again, all of these are levels from the main game, with a new visual style thanks to the blue crystals, and these strange blue rocks everywhere. In a short view of the transformed Moonlight Canyon, we see a diamond coin which appears to be trapped in a green crystal. We'll continue to see this throughout the trailer with coins and other items like food and figurine capsules. My guess is that you can probably break these open using a simple attack to get the items inside, kind of like Mario Galaxy. The next shot is of the new version of the tutorial. Here we see a new mechanic as Kirby collects this yellow octahedron, which has shown up in several previous shots but never been interacted with. When this octahedron is collected, it crystallizes a little more of the stage, revealing new items, enemies, and even entire platforms. The following shot just shows it revealing coins, but the one after that, which shows that it can be activated by spitting a star at it, creates a whole new path to a brand new area that seems to involve climbing up the large building seen at the start of the first level. Again, we see this happen outside Alivo Mall, creating a new path with enemies and more of those green crystals after being attacked with a hammer, and a path that lets you reach the roller coaster track in Wandaria after being attacked with a sword. So at this point I think we can conclude any attack will activate these, in addition to just touching them. Now the next shot is one of the coolest in the entire trailer. A giant crystal meteor hits the water in a level from Everbay Coast and just straight up pulls a Moses, parting the sea and freezing the water for Kirby to walk through. Probably the biggest level design change we've seen yet. The next couple of shots show Kirby running through more levels, and we can get a clear view of the green and red versions of the diamond coins. These were worth 5 and 10 respectively for star coins, so I expect those values to carry over. There will probably also be blue coins worth 30. Next we see Ring Kirby solving a snowman puzzle, similar to the one seen in Kirby Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, though this is a new addition to Forgotten Land. However, the biggest thing in this shot is the fact that we get to see the end of a stage. This crystal, which has 3 blue aliens trapped inside of it. Now I know you can't really tell that's what it is yet, it might not look like it, but we'll get a lot of evidence later in the trailer that this is definitely what it is. These are basically the equivalent to Waddle Dee cages. The next couple of scenes basically show off this new Spring Mouthful mode, which lets you jump really high and also do a ground pound. Hey look, there's the end of stage crystal again, this time in Wandaria, and here's a crystallized version of the building turtle enemies, which are called Tortildings. That's your Kirby trivia fact for the day. Next, we finally get a shot of the level select, where we see that the crystal versions of levels are selectable alongside the normal versions in the overworld, and it appears they're essentially treated as 2 different levels. For example, here we can see the players cleared the normal version, but not the crystal version. This is also the only crystal level we can see open on the map, as none of the other levels in the natural planes seem to have their corresponding crystal levels open yet. This suggests that we need to unlock them,
probably just by playing through the levels in order, similar to the main game. We can also see a brand new addition to the UI. Along with the Waddle Dees, there are now these blue alien guys to collect. The weird thing is, although these appear to be parallels to Waddle Dees, there are a lot less of them in this world, with the natural planes appearing to have only 19 compared to the 46 Ds. We'll get a closer look at what these guys actually look like in about 5 seconds, so I'll talk about them more there.
Certainly the biggest thing we see here is finally getting the name of that island which formed from the meteor in the opening cutscene. Falling Star Volcano. That's a very literal name. It's an accessible area from the map, right off the coast of the natural plains, and if I had to guess, entering it probably leads you to a new map with new levels, since this prompt looks very similar to the 2 original Wastelands prompt you see at the end of the first continent of the Forgotten Land, after beating Winter Horns. Unfortunately, the trailer cuts before we get to see more, and instead we see more of the crystallized Moonlight Canyon, as well as a mini-boss fight against a crystallized Florina, confirming that we'll fight crystal versions of mini-bosses. It's been a while since we've got some footage from a cutscene, but fortunately the next cut is exactly that. Finally we can get a good look at one of those blue aliens I've been hyping up for so long. Initially they're trapped in a crystal similar to the ones we've been seeing at the end of stages. Kirby appears to break the crystal just by touching it, freeing the little guy. So here I think it becomes clear that these are definitely the Waddle Dee cages of this game mode. And like I said before, each level probably ends by freeing 3 of them from a large crystal, with the tally being kept right next to the Waddle Dees. I imagine you probably need them to open boss stages too. Also of note is the diamond star shape on its face, which looks similar to the new coins we've been seeing. You also might notice the coral background, which doesn't appear to match any of the levels in the main game, which suggests this cutscene probably takes place in a level where the water's been split open, similar to the one we saw earlier, and we're standing on dry ocean ground right now. No one appears to be swimming here, and there's no underwater gameplay in Forgotten Land, so I'd say that's most likely the case. Finally, there's this new Waddle Dee here with what appears to be a backpack and a beret with constellation patterns on it. This could be a new companion for the story mode, maybe Astronomer Waddle Dee or something like that. Now in the next shot we see a brand new enemy, which might be related to the blue aliens we're rescuing since it has a similar eye shape and also these 2 little antler things on its head. This one's larger and appears to be coated with crystals, with 2 floating hands. It sends up 3 crystal orbs into the sky before we cut to it performing another attack, when Kirby uses the Ranger ability to shoot the crystal shield off of it, revealing its true form. This only shows up for about half a second in the trailer, so here's a good look at what that looks like. He's just got an actual eyeball under there. Next, Kirby Car plays through a stage where, sure enough, he breaks through one of those green crystals to collect a coin. And finally, a shot of Wandaria where the crystals have formed a makeshift roller coaster track that continues off of the ruins of the actual track. Probably a continuation of the level we saw in the first Wandaria clip. Finally, we cut to a title and release date, and we're done. So putting all of the clues together, what's my best guess for the plot of Star-Crossed World? My goal here is to predict specific plot details before the game even comes out just from the first trailer, so this next part is gonna get a bit speculative. Well, after poring over every detail so far, I would wager it probably follows a similar plot to Kirby Star Allies, where a Jamba heart of mysterious origins breaks apart, sending magical artifacts that cause chaos across the world, kicking off the plot. This time, that takes the form of these blue crystals, which twist and distort the world they land around. What's left of the Jamba heart itself forms Falling Star Volcano, which will probably hold the final boss, who's going to be some sort of evil entity that was sealed inside of the Jamba heart. However, to unlock the final boss, we'll have to free these little blue aliens that have been trapped in the crystals across the land. These aliens are probably related in some way to the crystals, perhaps they come from the same planet or dimension for example, and are probably also related to these new enemies, which could be more mature or hostile forms of the same species. Along with star coins, we'll also collect these new diamond star coins, which we'll be able to use in new shops. Since the Waddle Dees sold us items in exchange for star coins, perhaps there's a parallel where the blue aliens we save will sell us things in exchange for diamond coins. I won't stop there though, I'm gonna go even further and predict these crystals were originally intended to be used to seal the final boss within the Dark Heart. Note the difference in the opening cutscene between the purple particle effects that come from the heart itself and the blue effects of the crystals which break off and fall across the planet. Purple, of course, is a color associated with darkness in other Kirby games, like Kirby Star Allies. Perhaps it will even end up being the case that the blue aliens were trying to keep a powerful evil entity imprisoned in the heart using the crystals before something went horribly wrong, causing the heart to blast into the Forgotten Land. Then, throughout the game, the reason they help us is to finish the job, to reseal, or more likely have Kirby destroy, whatever was in the heart. As for who or what the thing sealed by the heart actually is, well, for that we just have to wait until release. After all, the final boss plot twist is a time-honored Kirby tradition. But that's about how long I could go on speculating for now. Those are my predictions for the story of Star-Crossed World. What are yours? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Is there something I didn't notice that you did? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe too, because I'll probably be making more content on Kirby and other game series at some point in the future. That's all for now. I guess I hope I don't immediately get disproven by the Nintendo Treehouse.